Beneath the shifting skies of fool's embrace, as nature dons her cloak of amber grace, we gather neath the equinox light to honour Alban Elfed, day and night. If you've not yet gathered, we're going to be discussing the autumn equinox, Alban Elfed, as known to the Druids, the Celts. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hi and welcome to Oaklaw Door. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Claire Attio. For those that are returning subscribers, thank you. Before we get started, apologies if you can hear the rain in the background. That wheel has turned, the seasons are changing. On the 21st of September, Saturday just past, was autumn equinox, the balancing between light and day as we transition into autumn, into winter. So the darkness starts to take over, and when I talk about darkness, I'm not talking about dark energies, those I'm talking about the unseen, those introspections. We quieter times when we're not so busy out on the land of old, and we're in our sanctuaries a little bit more, and thus we have more time to be reflective. Now, Alban Elfed of tradition was the last harvest. It's the last point on the wheel where the ultimate fruits of labour could be collected in, gathered in and stored ready for the winter, stored so that you could survive the winter, that we could survive that winter. I mean, we live in a time now that doesn't really apply, but how I use these ancient wisdoms is to think about, okay, it's a time for reflective, it's a time for gathering in all the fruits of our labour, celebrating the gratitude for them. What have we achieved this past year? Because at the end of October, we will be starting a new year according to the Celtic calendar. Samhain, we will be starting a new year, and so it's a really good time now to be reflective, to rejoice in what you've achieved. What steps have you taken? Have they been big? Have they been small? And how do you feel about that, and why do you feel that way about that? Very often we can set very big goals, and I've discussed it here before. I've got a massive goal, wish, desire, mission, if you like, of something that I want to create on this planet before my time is up. I don't know how I'm going to do it at this moment. I'm collecting all the tools in my toolbox to be able to do it. But I'm very well aware that there will be other people needed to be able to help me to bring this into fruition. And I'm not frustrated by that. It used to frustrate me because I used to sit there and think, oh, when is this going to happen? How am I going to do this? And I used to think that I had to puzzle into place to make it work. And I've since grown, I've since evolved and developed to be able to go, actually, no, I just need to be doing my part. I need to be listening to my intuition, listening to my heart, not my head, my ego, because all that other ish that was making me feel defeatist, because it wasn't coming into fruition was ego. It was all ego. Whereas now I can just stand back and go, okay, what are the parts, what are the pieces that I can build so that when the divine timing is right, it can all slot into place, and my role within it, I have everything I need. I am able to undertake that task without going, wah! As it were. And it's very liberating to get to that space where I no longer seek. It brings a sense of peace and a sense of tranquility, and it has allowed me to show greater gratitude to my ancestors, to the ancestors, and the lineage of which I'm carrying, and to be at peace, to be okay with not everything fitting into place at the moment. And I think that's the key. It's at the moment, and that is very grounding, it's very anchoring, and it does bring you into the now, because yes, you're still planning, you're still setting those goals for yourself. You're not stagnated in negativity or in nothingness, in that void. You're still making the plans, you're still stepping forward one step at a time, but you're not seeking that is in the future. You have a deep knowing that when it's right, and when that timing's right, when your frequencies are right, my frequencies are right, that it will be there. It will be there, and it will come forward. And so that fight, flight paradigm gets removed, and you get a deep sense of peace. And the beauty with the autumn equinox, one, it's a beautiful time of year. That's the one thing when I lived in Spain that I did miss, is because yes, we did have autumn, but it wasn't quite the same. You didn't have the old ancient trees that would change colour and lose their leaves, and you had that crispness as it went cold, and you're walking over those crisp, crunchy leaves. It does mark, and if you live in the northern hemisphere, you'll understand, because it does mark visually that turn of the wheel, that changing of the season. And that is it's quite cathartic, actually. It's quite, because you think, oh, I can snuggle in with my blanket and I can start to put the fire on and just snuggle down, and that in itself is a very comforting thing to do. The other aspect of it is that reflection. As I said, what have you achieved this year? And how much that you set out to achieve have you achieved? And how does that feel? And celebrating that. And the Celts of old, the Druids of old, did celebrate autumn equinox. They would have a big feast. The other thing that they used to do was make little corn dollies. And the one thing that I like to do at this time of year is I like to walk a labyrinth. And I like to do that in a meditative state. And I like to just walk it round, and anything that I've not achieved, or anything that is still in the making, or if something has changed, so I had an idea and then for whatever reason that changed, I will look into the reasons of why that changed. Was I in that moment in my ego? Or did I fall into my ego in another time, and I allowed myself to be swayed by my ego, not to pursue it? And so as I walk the labyrinth, I can kind of be very introspective on what actually was going on with me where I'm at. What I found with the labyrinth when I use it, and I kind of do it in 2 stages. I walk it first of all, and I map out the thoughts that come through as I'm being introspective. And then I leave it a couple of days, and then I walk it again. And when I say walk it, you can go outdoors if you have a big labyrinth near you and walk that, or you can print one off on a piece of paper and you can just trace it with your finger, just very gently in a meditative state, so that those answers, that information can come forward. And so I leave it a couple of days and I go back and I ask to be shown the answers that I need so that I can continue to move forward. And as I trace round again, I will be given words or phrases or ideas or answers. And I don't write them down right at the time, but I do make a mental note of them. And then I graph it. And what I've actually found over the years by doing that is I have a map. It gives me a map. It gives me... The first time I did it, I'm going to be honest, I was a little bit, what is this? I could see it was a map, but I was like, how is this going to work? What it ended up being the first few times that I actually did it like that is it ended up being a roadmap of what I needed to do internally to get myself to where I wanted to be. So when you look at it, you kind of think, well, oh, that's a bit strange. That's coming down. Don't try and think about it. Write the words that come to you when you are writing it down. Whatever you were given when you were walking it, that's what you write down. Don't change it. Don't analyze it. Don't try and be clever about it at all. Just simply put down in physical words what you were given, what came through. And yes, you will need to take a little bit of time afterwards to understand it, but understand it you will. And as I said, for me personally, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen for you, because we are all very different and our journeys are very unique and personal to us. But for me personally, what happened, it was giving me a pathway of the stages of my own evolution, my own growth, my own personal development, of which I needed to master almost before I then went on to the next stage. And I didn't notice it initially. The first couple of times I was like, this is a bit odd, okay, let's just go with it. But it was only in retrospect, that reflective state, that I was able to see it very clearly. That what was coming through when I was in that meditative state was a clear map of what was needed from me so that I could get to where I wanted and needed to be. So that's a really good activity that you can actually do over the course of the next few weeks before we move into Samhain, and before we go into that very deep introspective phase of the wheel, is to, one, reflect on your achievements, celebrate your achievements, give gratitude. And how that gratitude looks will be different for everybody. Some people may sit and pray in front of an altar. Other people will go to a drumming ceremony and celebrate. Other people will walk fire. Other people will just quietly say thank you with their team. Other people will be more vivacious in their celebrations. It's what feels right in your heart. And remember, I always use that phrase, what it feels right is light. So if you have a lightness to your body, your physical body, if there is a lightness there, then it's right for you. Trust that. Trust what you're given. The biggest hurdle, the biggest challenge for all of us is learning to trust ourselves. There is so much information out there, and so many people like myself giving information, that you kind of think, oh, well, so-and-so said this and I have to do X, Y, Z in that order. No, you don't. What you do is you listen to your own heart, your own intuition. Check in with your own body. How is it feeling? Is it feeling light? And if it is, then take it that it's right. And don't look over your shoulder at what other people are doing, thinking, oh, well, they've got more forward than I am. I should be doing what they do. No. There is no competition. There is no first, second, third. The key is that we all follow our own path and we all reach our full potential. And timelines, which don't exist anyway, are not important. It doesn't matter who does what first. What matters is that we are true to ourselves. We follow our true calling. We speak and act and live authentically. And if we're not doing that because of programs and because of upbringing and because of religious restrictions, whatever that is for you, because we all have them in differing forms, we work to clear them. We work to get to our core beliefs that resonate with who we are as a soul sovereign being. We understand ourselves deeply and authentically, and then we walk in that authenticity. And even if Joe Blogs next door to you is doing exactly the same as you, please remember there is no competition. And this has come up in the work that I'm doing at the moment, a new project that I'm on at the moment, and it's interesting because it's not about who's saying it. It's about how somebody hears it. Lives get changed, and I've had this with my coaching. I can remember repeating something over and over and over and over and over with a client that I was working with, and then they went and watched a YouTube video from somebody completely random who said exactly the same thing, but obviously at a different frequency or with a different tone. I wouldn't know, but it clicked. It could be that she had heard it over and over and over again, and it was her time to hear it for the first time. It's not important. That is not important. You do what you're called to do. You say what you're called to say. You be your most authentic, true self. And know that somewhere you've played a part, and it doesn't matter where you've played that part. You've played that part. You've done what was being asked of you, and you have fulfilled that role, that mission, that purpose. So Alban Elfed is such a wonderful time to be reflective. I would encourage that. I read the first verse from the book that I've got that deals with all the seasons and all the folklore. This is available on Amazon, hardback or soft cover, whichever you prefer. There are lots of things in here. As I said, I read the poem from that, but there's lots of information, lots of things, and I even kind of there's rituals in here that you can do if you like rituals. My rituals are based on the land. They're attuned to the land, to give homage to the land, to Mother Gaia. It's not about rituals for magic per se. It's about blessing and gratitude and homage. And if you're interested in this book, I've even included little diagrams and things so that you can make a corn dolly. A corn dolly is a lovely thing to do, and it's a lovely activity. If you do workshops and things, it's a lovely activity to get the kids to do. Education has really kind of focused, especially in the last 20 years, on academic, but that has taken us away from nature. We need to bring back nature, and things like making a corn dolly. One, it's a nice dexterity activity for the kids to do, and they've got something to show. But two, it brings them in touch with the land, and it gets them understanding about natural cycles. It helps us all, not just kids, it helps us all to become reacquainted with the natural cycles. And when we do that, one, we become far more grounded, and two, it really helps us to connect with our soul selves. So I hope this has been of help. I will leave the link for the book in the description box below. If you've liked the video, press that like button. If you've not yet subscribed, then hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. If you think a friend would benefit from seeing this video, then by all means share it. Until next time, beautiful souls, take care. Bye bye.